Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Author of Your Own Story Show. I'm very excited to have two extremely special guests with us today. It's Debi and Dr. Rob. They are the owners of the Academy of Jungian Psychology. Now, I may have said that wrong, so I apologize. We're practicing off air. So Debi, Rob, thank you so much for being here.
Great to be here. And it's
Awesome.
it's Jungian, like young and old. Everyone's
You gave me that prep right before this too, and I still messed it up. I told you.
That's okay. Everyone calls it Jungian, but that's okay.
Yeah. Close enough.
If you're Swiss, it probably is the way you pronounce it. So.
Right.
Well, excellent. Well, for people that don't know you, and I was talking to you guys off air, you have an extremely impressive backgrounds. Can you share us with the audience a little bit more about yourselves?
Debi?
Me? Okay. I started out doing personal development when I was in my early 20s because I was looking for love, and I fell in love with it in personal development, not anyone in particular. And through my work through that process, I realized I wanted to do this as a living, but I didn't know how because I didn't have a college degree. I didn't want to go to school for 8 years. I built up my corporate experience, and I got laid off and became a hypnotherapist. And started learning about the unconscious. And it was really fascinating to me. I felt like I found my home. And then I met this wonderful man, Dr. Rob, at 41. So it took me a while to finally meet the right person. But he introduced me to Jungian psychology. And it just blew me away because of all the things I learned in decades of personal growth. I did not know this stuff. And I said, we need to bring this to more people. And so little by little, I started pulling him away from what he was doing and having him help me teach and come up with little seminars. And then we ended up becoming business partners and basically creating a whole system based on Jungian psychology that we train coaches now. And I'll let Rob tell his side of the story.
Yeah, my side of the story. Yeah, absolutely. My background was in academia, so I trained in neuropsychology. I was very interested in neurodevelopment and focused a lot on autism, and really was looking at how human beings develop into what we call our human life. And when Debi introduced me to coaching, that light bulb went off in my head, and I said, well, here's a delivery system that has the capability of reaching anybody on the planet through the technology that's evolving right now. What if we could deliver really powerful psychological systems for people to free their minds and work on success, relationships, personal development, dreams, all the really in-depth stuff of psychology in a coaching model, meaning you don't have to be mentally ill to access this information. And that was the brainstorm, and we were foolish enough to try it out, and it seems to work.
It's like I brought the marketing and the idea of coaching, and I just didn't have the experience of the deeper psychological stuff. Yeah. Rob brought that, and now we kind of collaborate in both ways. Like Rob loves business now, and I love psychology, so it's like I always say he put his peanut butter in my chocolate, and we made a beautiful, delicious treat. And people that do our work say, I've never heard anything like this before. And I think one of the main things that Rob told me is that in academia, there's a lot of stuff that they don't share with the public. They kind of keep it in their little ivory tower. And there's so much research and psychology about the human development that is not available to the masses. And that's our mission, is to bring this really great knowledge of 100 years of research to people that have real science to it and help people live better lives.
That's awesome. And, you guys have so much, your diverse backgrounds bringing that together, I'm sure it creates such a synergy that allows you to speak to such a wider audience, and it's so needed. And we were talking a little bit off before we hit record. And one of the things I shared with you is a lot of people that listen to the show talk about, of course, imposter syndrome, and they talk about it in different ways. And it's really big, for business owners or people who are thought of as thought leaders, right? They're on the stage, they're speaking, or to any size crowd, that level of imposter syndrome seems to creep in with them and with entrepreneurship. Can you tell us a little bit about how you guys address that?
Sure.
Do you want to go or?
Yeah, let me set it up this way
He's going to
because,
set it up.
yeah, actually, it's the right feeling to have that you're playing a role,
Hmm.
that it's not your authentic self interacting in those situations. Because as Jung taught us, we are playing a role. We have a mask on. It's called the persona.
Mhm.
And the persona is not who we really are. It's an aspect of the mind that we kind of instinctually create to survive and to interact with the world. So that feeling that we get, that I'm not being my genuine self here, I'm kind of an imposter, even though I'm successful and I'm doing all these incredible things, it's not really who I am. And what it is, it's the mind is prompting you to examine the mind and ask those deeper questions. If I am not this persona, if I'm not the mask, then who am I? But most people misinterpret it. They think there's something wrong. They think,
Mm.
if I'm feeling this, it means that I need to see a shrink or take some medication or something. But
Or increase my confidence.
yes, reinforce that persona, and that seems to work a little bit. It helps people, let's say, create a better ego persona, but that's not really what the function is for.
Well, I think that in tagging on to what he just said, if you really believe that you're your success and you let that basically take over your personality, like I am, how many followers I have on Facebook or Twitter or YouTube, or how many people listen to my podcast, if I believe that's me, then that's the real problem. So I love that, this idea that the imposter syndrome, you should be feeling like an imposter because it's the right response. And I think a lot of what, through my work, doing a lot of personal development, a lot of the things I was experiencing, I was told was wrong. You shouldn't be feeling this way. You have to be confident. You have to be this perfect persona. Even in the dating tip area when I was single, like you have to act a certain way. And if you're not married by this time, something's wrong with you. And our whole mission is to tell people these things that are happening in our lives, the things that trigger us, are natural responses. And if we approach them in a friendlier way, we're able to basically find out really who we really are. Like you said, it's prompting us to look inward. Now, true success is when whether you're up or down, whether you have $1 million in the bank or you have nothing in the bank, that does not waver you. And that is really where you're really successful. So there's a lot about people out there in business trying to, get your brand out there and have that impression of success. And then people are like, yeah, but that's not really me. That's correct. It isn't really you. But sometimes we have to put on the act, just like Beyonce puts on her Sasha Fierce to perform. It's to remember that you're not your act. You're not this persona, but you can put on the persona. And I think connecting that is really powerful.
Oh, that's so great in so many different levels. That's why I chuckled. It's perfect. So, for example, I had a woman reach out to us who's a listener to the podcast, and what she's trying to do is build her brand, as you mentioned there a second ago, Debbie. Now, her thing is, like she said, Doug, I want to build my brand. I have a product that I want to bring to market, but I feel like I can't post on social media because I'm being a fraud. I'm being a fake. How would you address something like that?
Do you want to?
Go ahead.
Well, I would, first of all, if you're doing something new, it's going to feel that way because you've never done it before. Yeah. So if it's a fresh new business, you're going to feel that way. And instead of trying to push it away, and instead of trying to be like, oh, you have to be confident and let me wait until I feel confident before I do it, you just, like what we have people do is kind of like, notice that's the mind. That's not the truth. Just notice the story and act anyway. And you're not going to get rid of that fraud story. I mean, even if she, becomes wildly successful, she may still have that voice, but to understand that that's not the truth. And so it's this kind of like awareness that you let it be there. You don't try to fix it, but you know that that's not really who you are. And you act basically in spite of it.
Right. Yeah, stepping outside your comfort zone is really useful if you're able to take advantage of what pushes back.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Right. Anytime we step outside our comfort zone, something in us resists and pushes back. Jung says what you're seeing right there is your shadow, your unconscious mind resisting. You're hitting a wall in a sense, and it's going to feel very real, very visceral, and it's going to feel like it's coming from the outside. But he says that's actually the internal conflict in the external form.
Mm.
All you're seeing is your own assumptions about what you can and cannot do, your limitations. If you know what you're seeing, then if you're able to recognize it, you're able to work with it. You're able to work with it and use that, and it becomes a very useful tool for personal growth.
And again, the persona is in conflict. Her persona of I don't have experience is in conflict with the persona of I'm an expert. And so
Mhm.
she has to realize that she's not the expert and she's not an experienced person. There's something deeper within her. We call it like the divine or spiritual part of yourself that's unlimited. A lot of people talk about you're unlimited. And so what she needs to understand is that she's not doing it to put on to feed that persona or prove that. She's doing it because there's something in her that was drawn to do that. And so to know that that's what should be the driver, not what other people think, is like she has a mission that she needs to deliver. And then if she takes her ego out of it, that persona, she can actually deliver it and not have that experience. But I think setting up a business, starting a business,
Yeah.
running a business, being an entrepreneur is the most powerful thing you can do for your own personal development. If you use it to grow, and everything that shows up, then you're always winning. It doesn't matter what shows up, failure or success. If you grow from it, it's going to lead you to where you want to be.
Awesome. Yeah. So what I'm kind of hearing you say is no matter what, step into the uncomfortable zone and keep stepping forward as long as you know those are the actionable steps you should be taking
Hmm.
outside of that fear, and then take that as a lesson, right? For
Yeah,
growth.
and the fear that she has of what other people think is in her mind.
Mhm.
It's not reality. To
Yeah.
realize that if she believes that people are going to be negative toward her, she's going to see it. If she
Yeah.
believes that uh, she's doing what she loves, those people, if they show up, they won't affect her. So she's working with her own mind more than trying to make sure that everyone likes her out there.
Oh, such a great answer. Well, I'm sure she's listening. If not, I'm going to be tagging her in this to talk about it. Well, can you tell me a little bit, because I know people are listening to this, and Jungian psychology. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how you're using it currently to apply? I know you have a certification course, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, but tell us a little bit more about that background so people understand where you're coming from.
Yeah. Yeah. What we saw uh, out there as far as Jungian psychology, the way it was being applied was kind of too much on the new age side of things. You know, people were borrowing some terminology from Jungian psychology and kind of running with it and using it in different ways. There's nothing wrong with that. I think he would approve of that. He was very free, a free spirited minded person. But in studying his work, we found that there's a process of transformation, which he called individuation. So individuation just means, like people talk about self-actualization in the Maslow's hierarchy of needs and all that. So self-actualization is an innate process that's in all of us, right? We all want to express our talents, our deeper dreams, our aspirations. We all want to do that, and that's where we find our happiness. It's not about just accumulating money or success or being liked. It's really about that free flow of expression and creativity. So that individuation process is really at the heart of what we teach. uh, it doesn't have to be applied in just, let's say, a fixing mode of trying to help somebody with certain symptoms, or when they go off the rails or anything. Anybody can use it to transform their lives in a positive way. meaning wherever you're at and whatever you've accomplished in your life, there's always more. There's always more to come, because we know we have these incredible psyches, these minds that we haven't even tapped into their full potential. So what the process does, it gives you the tools to tap into that potential. You don't call that the collective unconscious. And it's an unfortunate term, because it's what he meant was that we're unconscious of it. Not that it's unconscious, because it is a kind of wisdom that resides in us. It's the fountain and the source of creativity, of ideas, of inspiration. And when we're able to tune into it through dream work, through meditation, through visualization, then it gives us those ideas directly. And that inspiration comes through in a very clear and concise way. And we're able to apply it in business and relationships and creativity, any field that we're doing our work in.
And to kind of round it up into just one sentence, it's like, we all think we're our persona. We all think we're this personality, and the process is actually having us become aware of our deeper selves, of our true potential. Because if we just go by our personal history and our limited, how we were conditioned in life, you're only going to get so far in life. But if you see that you're like, kind of like the tip of the iceberg, you see that you're bigger, that you have this vast wisdom within you to tap into, and you don't have to stay in your persona. You can actually be whoever you want to be. Then everything opens up for you, and then you're more free. And really, it's just the first step is just understanding that conditioning and stepping out of it. And then the next step is, what do you create when nothing stops you anymore? Yeah. And that's really the thrill. And you're not just going after success to feed your persona, to build up that persona. You're actually doing it because it's something to create. It's like, why create anything? Why create the Sistine Chapel, paint the Sistine Chapel? It's because I want to express what's in me. And that's really, I think, where business owners can be really fulfilled in life. It's not by the bottom line. I mean, of course, that's important. We want to have success and abundance, but that's not going to fill you up if that's all you're going for. So we help people on that deeper level really access that power. And it's interesting, everything in our business, we use our dreams all the time to help us navigate like what we can't see about what's ahead for us. And so it's really a beautiful way to tap into something that's far bigger than we thought we were before. And it's really, really amazing.
Oh, I love that. And, it's so often, I was actually working with an athlete who got injured, and his whole identity was wrapped up in I'm an athlete. And as soon as he got injured and couldn't be, at least at the level that he was, he had an identity crisis, because then who am I if I'm not this athlete that, professional athlete essentially. And so that plays right into what you're talking about.
Well, people have that when they lose a business, when they lose a marriage, that something breaks, something happens in their life, and they're like, who I thought I was is not really me. And I think it's the best thing can happen to someone, because the real work is to become who you really meant to be.
I love that, which steps right into the fear of imposter syndrome, right?
Yes.
Because it ties right back in nicely.
Yeah, because I see so many people get so caught up and they're really successful, but they get caught up in their persona and who they are, and then they end up basically trying to cover up any flaws. They end up becoming this kind of very fragile person, and they need that adoration. It can become almost narcissistic, like I need everyone to love me, and it can be, really like cult leaders become like that. Yep. And so someone who's doubting themselves, I want that person to know, or anyone who deals with it, that it's actually a normal response, and you should ask that question. And that is really the first step to individuation. The person that goes out there going, I have it all figured out, and I'm the best, and I'm the smartest, they're in for a rude awakening. At one point, that bubble's going to burst. And so let's work with the bubble now when it's little and pop it now and really go forward and have a strong foundation for building whatever business you have.
Yeah. Teenage syndrome, right? I know everything. Yeah.
Yes. Well, the thing is, a lot of people don't realize that your personal growth is going to dictate how much you grow and feel fulfilled in your business. If you neglect that, so many people neglect that, and they think it's just, about marketing and building up, having the right, social media or whatever. And if you follow that route, eventually whatever your psychological stuff that you haven't dealt with is going to show up in your business, or you're going to use your business to fill a void in that, whatever you feel like is missing. And I've seen marriages get destroyed, and lives, people forget about their life, and their health goes because they're not taking care of their psyche and their mental health.
Yeah, absolutely. As you do one thing, you do all things, right? And
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
oh, I love it. Well, you guys, in talking about that, when you talked about upper limiting, or what I call upper limiting, but it's called a lot of things in different ways. But yeah, putting those belief systems, I think what you said, if I recall, is you can only go so far, as you want to, and then why not create from this place of abundance within inside of you? How does that apply to the common thing when we hear people talking about money, right? Money is one of those things that you see people, they always hit this almost like ceiling, it seems like, then they go back down, and they get to the ceiling, go back down. They go on this roller coaster ride. How does that work for people?
Well, the way we work with Jungian psychology, and this is probably an answer you probably have never heard before, is that we see everything as symbolic. And so money is symbolic. I mean, I don't know if we should go as deep as this, but it's symbolic of the father archetype, which is our relationship with spirit, and our personal relationship with our father has influence over how we interact with money. Now, the physical world is the feminine or the mother archetype. And so our mother, how she nurtures us, or how she was either there or not, it's like they go together. And so when you're feeling that, you have to first of all look at your personal history. And it's not really about money. It's not about money beliefs or money's bad. It's about how you trust in receiving the unseen. We think of money as material, but it's actually not. Money is an idea. It's not real. It's not like a solid thing. The physical, what you do with money, is the nurturing of your life. So your business is actually an idea. It's not anything hard, and what you create with it is the physical. So what we help people do is look at what are your personal patterns with the mother father, and then how do we look at the shadow around that? Like, what do we take from our parents? How are we trying to compensate for our childhood? And then also on a bigger level, what's our relationship with divine and with the kind of the world in general?
Yeah. And when you do reach those higher levels of self-actualization, right, individuation, money serves you. Money is serving your higher purpose, not the other way around. When you're working out of the persona, out of the ego, you're serving money. Basically, you're trading your time and effort for that payback. You're indebted to it in essence, and you're kind of conditioning yourself to work for it. And that's not success for us. Success really means using or getting to the point where money serves your vision, your higher vision. Then it just becomes one of the tools that helps you create that what we call our lives in a creative way. And that's really the ultimate in self-actualization and business, where you're expressing your higher purpose, your higher vision, and doing it in a creative way.
That's so if I can summarize what I'm hearing, it basically what you're saying is, look, if you're doing what you love and it's how it serves a higher purpose above you, the money will follow. And if you focus on the money, then you're kind of in the struggle hustle mode, and now you're trading time, which is, the resource we can't get back. Right.
Well, it just goes back to feeding the persona again. Are you looking for the money to feed that persona? And it's something psychological that money symbolizes, that you're getting some kind of security or safety from it. And you cannot use something that's invisible to get security from. And so to know that within yourself, there's, unlimited supply, and there's nothing that can harm you or hurt you, then money becomes just an expression versus this lifesaver. And I think a lot of people, when they get into their own business, money becomes some kind of survival mechanism. And if I feel good, I look at my bank account and it makes me feel good. And then what we're doing is we're not seeing them, we're thinking the money's external, and we have no say in it. And to see that it's just a mirror, then we can start going, oh, okay, I'm going to just create more. And then it becomes easy. When you don't know that you have the power to create it, it becomes a needy thing. It's just like someone looking for love. If they think the love is outside of them, they're never going to find it. But if they know their love and they feel connected to their own love, and they're just kind of wanting to share it, then it becomes, you find the right partner, and the relationships are much better. So it's the same thing. And I find that too, a lot of what money is with, especially coaches that work, we work with coaches, or anyone who does any one-on-one work, the money is tied all into their own personal relationships and how their patterns of relationships and boundaries and all these things that you don't think have anything to do with money, that we end up, throwing away money for just the wrong reasons, like to be pleasing or to help others like us. And so then we, with staff or with people that we work with and partners that we negotiate, all that, we forget that it's not just being a savvy business person. It's like your personal psychology is actually influencing all those conversations. Yeah. So the more you know about yourself, the more power you have over the money.
Yeah. Well, you've created businesses yourself, Doug.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, where do you find the inspiration? Where do those creative ideas come from?
For me, those ideas come from passion. When I started Author of Your Own Story, it was really almost out of frustration, because I was traveling, running companies, hanging out with my family, and people kept on saying, that's great for you, but I can't do it because I have kids. I can't do it because I'm too young. I can't do it because I'm too old. And I was like, well, you can, kind of like you said earlier, Debbie, I felt like I could write my own story every day. Mm-hmm. And why don't you just step outside and be the author of your own story? Mm-hmm. And this turned into a passion project of mine. I just wanted to give back to people and hopefully open them up to great people like yourselves, so they could have different conversations and get that inspiration to step up. And this is pretty much with all the businesses that I own currently.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah, I feel like life is too short to just be mediocre. I mean, we're an extraordinary, and when I met Rob, I think his face lit up because he was like, what do you want out of life? And I said, I want an extraordinary life. And he was like, I've never met a woman like you before. I've been told no so many times. When I was looking to get my book published, they were like, Debbie, you're a hypnotherapist. No one's going to publish your book. You don't have a PhD. No one's going to be interested. You're never going to get on television. Right. Well, I got a major publisher. Wiley published my book. I was on network television all over the country. Nothing stops you if you really believe that anything is possible. And I'm the same way. I feel like people need to know that their mind is the only thing in the way of them having anything they want.
Yeah, it's so true when you say that. And I've not all my businesses, when I started off, I've had businesses since my early 20s. And when I was trying to make money, those were struggles. And when I stopped trying to make money and just started wanting to add value, it became so effortless and easy. Almost felt guilty about it at times, as I got over that, but I almost did. And so it makes a lot of sense to me what you guys are saying.
That's really important that you say that, because I think a lot of people, they have this story that they have to work hard to make money. And that if they live out that story, that they hear all the noise about it takes 3 years to make a profit, and so many businesses fail, and and you let that drive you, that will be your reality. But you have to kind of really watch your mind, and if you focus on that potential, things start to flow, and then you will feel a little guilty because you're like, this isn't right.
Yeah, well, from the Jungian perspective, that passion is really the fuel that drives the creative process in us. And you might have great ideas, but if you don't have the passion, it has no energy, it has no fuel. And it's really our passion, our emotions that create our life. So when you have great ideas, if you can match them with a passion, then they're going to be your reality.
Mm.
I love that. I
Mm.
love that.
You can't be just passionate about getting rich and retiring. When I first started as an entrepreneur, I saw these people on the beach and going, I don't even have to work today. And I'm like strolling around and I'm sitting at my pool and this great lifestyle that you can have. Or that one person who had the 4-hour work week. I said, if you're passionate about something, you don't want to just do it for 4 hours a week. You want to make it your life. And Rob and I mean, we love what we do. And that's really, it doesn't matter how many hours you put in. If you love it and it's part of your life and it's part of your expression, it becomes like you never really have to work because it's
Yeah.
really what you love.
It's your painting, as we were talking
Yes.
about it offline, right? You know, some people
Your
paint.
Sistine Chapel.
Well, and I know you guys are coming out with some new, I love everything you're saying. So I'm really curious with some new products and things you guys are doing and bringing into the world. And one of those is you are bringing all of this innovative information to coaches to kind of sounds like pay it forward almost. So that they're the people that can go spread the message. Tell me a little bit about that.
We have, what we noticed is that there were people at first when we started doing this work, people are like, I want to learn what you do. Can you teach us?
Mm-hmm.
And so we started about 5 years ago doing our training coaches, first love coaches, because that's what we were focused on. And then now we're doing the Jungian life coaching. And basically we take our coaches through the process themselves, but also they learn the psychology behind Jungian work. And we give them techniques that they use, that we use, and they learn visualization. They learn how to interpret dreams for their clients. But the important thing about this is it's an individuation process. So they're not cookie cutter coaches that are all teaching the same thing, all doing the same business. They actually have all unique businesses, which is amazing. So it's really, for us, we can't help every single person, and this work can help anything. So we have people that work in fitness, we have people that work in finance, people that work in style, love. We have doctors that coach other doctors. I mean, we have leaders in corporations that use this in their corporate world. So they take the process and they make it their own. So basically, we're giving them the tools to basically create not only their own individual self, but their own individual business. And I don't think anyone, all the life coach trainings that we've seen out there is like, you learn our system and then you become this technique and then you just become like everyone else. And it really is a very unique way to work. And you know, and then we include private coaching with Rob. So he mentors these people. It's a small group of people, very special group. And it's amazing what happens with all the students and what they've created.
Yeah. And then paired up with a technology that's evolving right now, it has really kind of expressed itself way beyond my wildest dreams, because, you know, I'm training somebody in Kashmir in India right now, somebody in New Zealand, you know, all these people around the world. And it's as if they were present here and we had a, you know, brick and mortar school or something. But, you know, we're able to reach anybody on the planet, and it's just starting. Really, the technology is going to evolve more and more to where, you know, almost everybody on the planet will be connected. And so it's a really exciting time to be doing this kind of work.
It's fascinating. And so it's remote coaching where people are coming in, if I get this correctly. So it's not modules like a lot of people are just like, oh, you go through this 8-week module online where you watch videos. You guys are actually working with them individually, small group, and sounds like in person with you, Rob, as well. Is that right?
Yeah. We do 2-3 day in-person trainings with them. So they come in from all over the world to do the in-person, and we also do have modules that they have recorded, you know, and group calls throughout. It's 10-month program. And then also include Rob, some private with Rob, so he can help them with their own process. And I always know the best way to train as a coach is to have a great coach, not train with just someone else, another student. It's great to learn from other students, but to have a really great high-level coach to coach you, then it lifts you up to just another level right away.
Yeah. Yeah, the model is very much, it's an ancient model. You know, you see it in ancient India. You have the guru student, the teacher pupil relationship, and it's a direct transmission where your own process, your own psyche connects with their psyche, and it, you help them go through this process of transformation. Very personal, very individualized, and we're always amazed at what comes through from that individual person. Something completely unexpected sometimes. It's just incredible.
People were like, they just wanted to do it just for their own personal growth, and then they end up creating these amazing business out of it. And it just blows our mind, the transformation that happens in just 10 months. It's like they always say, I feel like I've done personal development for 10 years, and then I've grown more in this 10 months than I have in the past 10 years, because we work on that deeper level.
Well, that's amazing. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure when these people start to up level and kind of peel back the onion, so to speak, there's new possibilities that are out there for them. And so you're giving them, going from as I always say, the 8 colors of crayons to the big 64 color box. And now they can do a lot more.
Absolutely. Yes. They're surprised at what's possible. And then a lot of them actually feel bad that, why didn't I do this sooner? They all say, why didn't I do this like 2 years ago? And some of them have been following us for years and like, okay, I'm going to finally do it. And they're like, why didn't I do this 2 years ago? So much has changed in my life. And people meet the love of their life in this program. They create this business, opportunities show up, books, opportunities. I mean, just amazing things happen when they do it and it feels effortless, because they're not trying to do it. They're just becoming who they are. And then naturally their mind reflects new possibilities. So it's a much easier way to work. And it's very organic. It's not like cookie cutter where you have journal questions, and it's very creative. And so we have a lot of artists that do the work because it's so deep and individual.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. Well, I love you guys, and I love the message that you have. And I know I could sit here and talk to you guys all day, but I want to be respectful of your time as well. And so for those listening to us right now and they want to find more information, where do they go?
Have them go to jungianlifecoach.com. It's YUNGIAN lifecoach.com. And they could go right to our coach training page, or they can go to debianddrrob.com as well. But if they're interested in the coach training, that would be where to go.
Okay. I'll make sure I put that in the show notes, and we also get that out there. Debi and Dr. Rod, like I said, I could talk to you guys all day. Absolutely love it. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for being on today.
Thanks for having us. It was great.
Appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
I have a question for you. What if you could transform your life for the better in just 90 days? Would you do it? Our 90-Day Game is an online program and community created for people like you who are ready to make a shift and take those dreams and goals they've been talking about for years and turn them into a reality within 90 days. Go to authorofyourownstory.com/90-day-game and turn your goals into reality. And don't forget to be the author of your own story.